What is up, you guys? Good to see you today. I wasn't planning on making a YouTube video down here at this site, but it looks so cool on the inside. I'm having a meeting with a fella, me and Mark. It looks so cool on the inside and so interesting. I asked him if I could make a YouTube video. So we're down here at Green Energy Biofuel, and we just met a fella. His name's Bio Joe. You're getting to meet him here in a second, but he just started telling us about the business. So he's gonna have to kind of restart that little spiel again, but super cool though operation down here. I think you guys are gonna enjoy this.
Just massive volumes of things on any given day. If we've got an organic box that's close to getting filled, we will push organic, fill the box and send it out. Then we'll shift gears to running a liquid waste material.
Yeah.
And then that liquid waste has two pathways. It can either come into the biofuel plant, where we can separate and recover any oils that might be present in the waste that we run. Or if it's like a soda or something else, then it goes through wastewater treatment or it goes out for disposal. So like composting and sugars, they love each other.
Oh yeah.
And so we find all these different opportunities to run crazy array of waste streams, some that have oil, some that are just straight food solids, and some that are just other liquids. And so finding things that are complementary to the wastewater that we have and the process that we run is always like the balancing act. But we deal with a lot of companies that give us looks at disposal of all kinds of crazy stuff. We work with pet food companies that send us their kibbles and bits.
Yeah.
And I mean, just, it's crazy. And so we've grown this side of the business to the point now that we've got to have alternative outlets. Because I need to run this more. I need to not be bound by just our small, way up the road compost facility, that we can find some others that can consume some of the waste, whether it be a meat waste like that you guys can possibly take, or it would be a strictly vegetable only waste that everybody else can take.
People don't realize how much material out there, you know, folks are wanting us to do something with these crazy waste streams.
Yeah.
You know, we've been approached by a couple companies of just stuff I've never even thought of before, but it makes good compost. So
it's like the magic ingredient in a compost operation.
Yeah.
Is the fresh food and vegetables that isn't. And the interesting thing, we've owned this for several years now. In all the years that we've run it, we barely get anything that has any mold or any wilting on produce. Like, this stuff is fresh. It makes you wonder, is this not edible? Can it not go to a different home? And at the end of the day, it's paid for disposal to our door. And so it goes then for disposal after it leaves here, and that's our only option. So we're working real hard on where can we go with what things. When we bring in certain materials that have a high oil yield in them, the liquid runs through, goes into our heated tank, and we can heat and cook outside the building dedicated to packaged food waste.
Gotcha.
So we can get the oil to split and come out of suspension of whatever the food waste material is. Then we can recover that oil, and then anything that's left over, like if it's a salad dressing, right? So Italian dressing, you shake it up to get the oil to all combine. But if you took salad dressing like that and you cook it, you can get the oil out, and then you're left with a bunch of liquid and spices and other things that don't have any home in a biofuel plant. So, but then in composting, woo, talk about ignite the pile and see your temperatures go from 120 up to 160. And then next thing you know, you're done in a few weeks composting instead of several months. That lower temperature is dragging it out. So it's just an input to increase throughput.
Now Joe, so guys, this is the Bio Joe that I was telling y'all about. Now right here, you're just making biofuel at this location, but you do compost as well.
Yes. So we have resoil compost that can take all of the waste that we generate here to make a compost, but then we don't actually make biodiesel here. Okay. So in order to make biodiesel, the recipe, you have to have either a refined fat or refined vegetable oil, one of the two. Okay. And so we recover fats, oils, and greases from waste streams that we run, not just from the Depackager, but large volume wastewater disposal, large volume oil purchasing from companies that cook food.
Right.
And fry food is what we dedicate a lot of our effort to.
And so you've got this site here in Warrenville, but you also got, you said in
Knoxville, Tennessee, we have a biofuel facility, and then in Winsboro we have one as well.
Okay.
So
and you're composting in Elgin.
Right, and then we compost in Elgin.
Very cool, man.
But our name of the game is we refine fats, oils, and grease to like a virgin quality. So no solids. We filter down to like 100 microns, like human hair kind of filtration. And then no moisture is allowed in any of that fat and oil that we sell. And that goes as an ingredient to the biodiesel, biofuel industry.
I gotcha.
And so for every gallon that we put in a rail car and ship out to them, they can roughly make a gallon of fuel. Okay. And so we do output around 500,000 gallons of finished product fat oil every month.
That's crazy. Every month?
Every month.
That's crazy,
and we've done, I mean, we had a stretch for almost 16 months. It was at least 500,000 gallons.
Wow.
I mean, it's just bananas. And so in order to send out and refine 500,000 gallons, you have to bring in on the front end more than that to be able to filter it and refine it and cook it and have that output.
Gotcha.
So we've had up to 1 million gallons of liquid roll through in a month.
That's nuts.
And we've never seen capacity reach within the plant.
Yeah.
It's always just like, I'm trying to choke this place every day with as much waste as we can find, and we can't choke it on the liquid side.
Right.
Now on the depackaging and output on that side.
So this is the depackager here, right? That we hear running behind us?
So, I mean, it's dumping out clean organic waste, and this is particularly French fries coming from fast food distribution companies.
Okay.
And so there'll be some set point issue that they'll have in their warehouse and storage of the cold material.
Yeah.
And then we wind up with output of organic waste that y'all would recover, or that y'all could take in the big roll-off box.
And use that in our composting process.
Right. And then trash goes up the conveyor and into the roll-off container, and that has to go.
Very cool, man.
We like to run it where we don't have as much organic going out on the feed.
Sure.
But
It's a machine.
Have a little waste somewhere.
It's a machine. Yeah.
But for the simplicity of picking it up with a forklift and dumping it in the machine, and then it spits it out on the back end, and you wind up with cardboard and
a little bit of plastic.
Wrapping.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And your waste stream. So
a lot faster than doing it by hand. That's for sure.
Yeah. So certain waste streams that we run will yield a clean cardboard and a clean plastic. That can go to Sunoco Recycling, which is real big here in South Carolina, that can take all these wastes. Tetra Pak, or another kind of a new packaging in the marketplace that they can also take that waste as well.
Okay.
And so when we can find a home for recycling of the waste that comes out of the machine, we try.
Win.
But there's certain instances where we get too much food contamination in our waste output, or either wet cardboard and some plastic bags from French fries.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
Can't do anything with it.
And so there's certain things we just do the best we can with it and run as hard as we can.
I got you. And so Joe, he's just gonna dump this right into the hopper, and then it does the rest.
Yeah, you can climb up on the ladder.
Okay.
There's a little ladder right here.
Yeah.
So it's got a twin screw auger in it that slowly feeds, if you look in the box, slowly feeds the material up into the machine.
Gotcha. How about that, man? That is really, really something.
And then if this waste had liquid in it, there's even a feed on the bottom that can take the liquid and also put it through the machine. So sometimes when you drop big containers, they'll break, and then the liquid will come out, and then that liquid gets pumped into the same process.
That's really interesting,
handles
man.
Dry and wet material.
How'd you figure all this stuff out, man? I imagine you probably had to rip some of these boxes open by hand in your day, huh? Yeah.
We've done tractor trailer truckloads I got a drill and a 33 millimeter socket that you fit on the top of the containers that we would, like a pit crew.
That's awesome.
Unscrew the caps and then turn the bottles open and
and
then we lost money because the bottles weren't clean enough to recycle and the cardboard got wet with oil and then that couldn't be recycled, and so this gives us a way to do it where nobody's spending all day long. We can process a full tractor trailer truckload of packaged box material in a few hours.
Wow.
Every day.
That's how we learn though, Joe. I mean, you got to do your time.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So there you can see the augers down at the bottom, just feeding this material right into the depackager. And as you saw going up the conveyor belt over there on the other side is mostly your trash. Food waste gets separated out. Never seen anything like this. This is so cool.
So we nicknamed this machine the Hungry Hippo. And so we try to have fun with whatever we do, but if you fell in there, not only would you die, but it'll hurt the whole time that you're dying. I saw this sign and it was just like, yep,
I love it.
I want that on the machine.
We
kept trying to figure out what hippo logo do we want.
Right.
So I bought that one and this one and another one. And we kind of like
I love it. And you know, I love your attitude, and we try to have fun at work too. You got to, man. You know, when you can wake up in the morning and go somewhere and you're excited to go, and it looks like all your employees here, everybody's got a smile on their face. It just makes all the difference in the world.
We try to have a good time. I mean, we painted our tank green and yellow, and it was just like, you know, why don't we make it an emoji face? I mean, it doesn't have to be just the yellow end of the tank.
Right, and something that simple can put a smile on your face. I think it's great, man.
We happen to have an on-staff artist, Taylor Strickland, that works for us, that just, when you say something like this, he's like, oh, I can do that. And so he's painted, at Resoil Compost, he painted a whole mural on our office walls and bathrooms that looks like a farm. I mean, it's corn, it's potatoes, it's everything that you grow, and he just can see it and he can paint it on a whole big wall. Like, if you want me to put some on a piece of paper, I can do it. But to have that vision to be able to do a wall,
I can barely draw stick figures. Now, I could do a smiley face, but that's nice, man. Little stuff like that goes a long way.
But these are all
what's in these tanks?
So this is finished product material.
Okay.
And so we can come at any time and look at our touch screen to see what's going on here. And then rail car loading. So we're loading, the green lights are on. So the rail car out the door here in loaded. Position 1 currently has material running from these finished product tanks out to it. And roughly 2 of these tanks can fill up 1 rail car. Roughly. So a rail car, it can vary in volume. So it can be 24,000 on the low end or 27,000 gallons in every rail car.
Wow.
And so when we sell 20 plus rail cars in a month, it's a lot of volume that's moved.
That is.
So we put in automation through the whole entire plant. We've got 5 of these touch screens at any one place that you can see whether something's wrong or green light is running.
This is way more advanced than what I always wondered what was going on down here. But this is way more advanced than what I had imagined.
We used to not have this, and we would have constant 3 to 4 guys just to unload a tanker that's outside. You'd have to have one guy out there, another guy manning the pump, another guy on top of the tank looking in, hey, it's full, turn it off, and multiple people in different places. Now, with the automation, we can connect it outside, press the button, and roll it in.
I love it, man. This is impressive. I love this kind of stuff. Just amazing.
But it's just evolved. I mean, when we bought this plant, these things weren't here.
Right.
They didn't even have access to the rail spur.
Okay.
And now, we've got out that window, I mean, there's 4 or 5 cars out there, and then if you want to walk through here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rail cars. So we have a 5 rail car live loading system.
Okay.
But we also have steam lines run to each rail car spot, so we can steam, heat, and
right, because that's one thing we missed when I went to go grab the GoPro. You were talking about y'all, another service y'all have is cleaning out these actual.
Well, so what we found is just servicing our own rail cars, we've got 17 that we run, that we have to clean them periodically.
Yeah.
And so we set up a whole system just to handle our own cars. But then I talked to some people that we do business with, and we buy oil and do some trading. And I just made mention, hey, by the way, we can clean your rail car. Like, you can send us finished product, we'll buy it in your car. And when we get the car empty, then we'll clean it.
Hey, why not? You got it here. You already got the equipment.
Well, every so many years, they have to be cleaned, and then sent for refurbished or sent for recertification.
Oh, yeah.
They usually charge like $9 grand to clean a car.
Wow.
So we do it for $5.
Yeah.
And then
it's already here.
We get to keep all the waste that comes out.
So all the stuff you're cleaning out is still good, viable product. You're just putting it right back into the system.
And we put it through the whole biofuel process inside, or either send it to resoil compost on the other end.
That's
but
smart,
all
man.
this just kind of happened. Like, I'd like to tell you that I planned this out from the start, that I'm real smart, but I mean, even the even the cardboard baler.
Yeah.
I just had a buddy that knew of Petridge Farms that used to be here in Aiken. They closed their plant, and I got this for free. The new owner didn't want it. And for us to have a cardboard baler, I mean, these things are expensive.
Yeah,
and cardboard value goes all over the place. Yeah. But I mean, this is just another little mini revenue stream that since I got this for free, it was just a cost to electrify it.
In business today, I mean, like you were talking about squeezing this thing, you have to squeeze everything that you can, to help you run more efficient and make profit.
Well, and provide jobs to like 40 people.
Absolutely.
With benefits and everything.
All of our businesses have kind of evolved the same way. We just fell ass backwards into it. There was no grand plan.
Right.
I got into composting because Dad was piling up limbs and just letting them rot, and in a couple of years, like, hey, this is some pretty good soil, and I love plants, so that's how we kind of got into composting. It's but it's neat how businesses evolve, and this one's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's
impressive,
man. So
man.
we're the biggest biofuel feedstock facility on the East Coast.
Wow.
There's nobody that can produce the volume that we can produce, and I mean, even like if you look at us compared to in the nation, other companies, there just isn't really anybody in this space doing what we do. And I mean, I only started this when I lived in North Augusta, and my wife was going to MCG, and I needed fuel for my diesel truck. That I met another doctor she was going to residency with, that had learned how to make biodiesel, and he taught me how in my garage, and
I love it, man.
Here we are.
Humble beginnings.
17 years ago.
Now, is it true that when you burn the biodiesel, does it smell like French fries when you get behind your traffic?
It's got a unique smell to it. Okay. Yeah, it smells good. I used to try to tell people, no, it doesn't exactly smell like French fries, but honestly, you're not going to smell but so many tailpipes that are going to have any biodiesel in it. So I just let people think that yes, it
smells like French fries.
Because it's just easier conversation. Everybody's got it in their head.
Now clear this up for me too, because I've always heard, biodiesel isn't as good, or it has negative effects. Is there any truth to that? Or?
So it depends on how it's made and what it's made with.
Gotcha.
So like in the summertime, cold weather is not an issue. So like if you use chicken fat to make fuel in the summertime, it'll run fine. But if you use chicken fat in the winter and it gets to 20 degrees, well then if whatever you use to make the fuel, if in the cold it's thick, like chicken fat, if it gets cold it gets thick, when you convert that fat into fuel, it's going to have similar characteristics.
I got you. Okay. So it just depends on your feedstock.
Yes, animal fat fuel is only good in the hot weather months, but vegetable oil, like soybean oil or any other vegetable oils,
cooking oil,
all year round. I mean, we've run our plant. I was down in 13-degree weather running 100% biodiesel in my Chevy pickup truck.
Okay.
So you absolutely can run this year round. It depends on what feedstock, what fat or oil that you use to make the fuel as to how well it runs. But when this industry started, I mean, it was only like 2005. So I mean, this biodiesel thing is new.
Right, pretty new.
That there were already problems in people's fuel tanks with diesel fuel being a dirty, kind of nasty fuel, that when you add biodiesel to a dirty tank, it will clean it out. But it also can feed some of the microbes that are already growing in the tank. And then create other problems. And so unfortunately, when biodiesel was introduced to America, at all the fuel pumps and all over the place, the vehicles and the infrastructure, even the tanks in the ground.
Oh yeah.
That had built up moisture and water and stuff for over all these years. Biodiesel can grab that moisture and carry it through the system. And so, unfortunately, all these things were learned the hard, expensive way.
Yeah.
That just because the tanks weren't clean to start with,
yep,
that created a problem when biodiesel was introduced.
Yeah,
it isn't that the fuel was bad, it was the fuel tanks and the whole delivery system.
Right.
The infrastructure was not ready.
And a lot of folks,
So
I didn't know that stuff could grow in diesel, but we learned it the hard way with our tanks out at the landfill.
Right.
You know, we had algae growing in there. And I mean, you wouldn't think anything could actually live in diesel fuel, but it sure enough can.
Fungus can live in diesel fuel, which you would never think fungus and fuel have anything to do with one another. But I've done all kinds of research over the years in trying to get ahead of these problems to be able to sell higher volumes of biodiesel to people. And at the end of the day, it is a complicated, expensive thing, because you can either A, just buy regular petroleum fuel and run it, use some fuel additives if you want, or you can buy biodiesel, and if you don't use some fuel additives, you could have some problems.
Right.
And people just, I don't want to buy fuel that I have to buy something else to then run it.
Right.
And now they've modified all the vehicles that DEF systems.
Oh yeah, know all about DEF.
The DEF fluid is a way to get better emissions.
Right.
Without having to introduce a high volume of biodiesel into the fuel system. But man, there isn't anybody that has a DEF system that's excited about it.
Nope.
And the extra expense of operation to run the DEF systems, in like the fluid you have to put in,
oh, yeah,
but in the maintenance.
Oh yeah.
That you have a problem, see if it isn't $5,000
oh goodness,
to fix
man,
it.
out at the Green Go, the landfill, I mean, it's constant replacing those DEF heads,
Yeah.
crystallization in the lines. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
Well, and the thing is, as a business owner, you can't run old stuff that breaks down because it's old.
Yeah.
So then you're forced to run new stuff,
Yep.
and the new stuff has all this emission control stuff
yeah.
on it. Interestingly, that old equipment could run 100% biodiesel.
Yeah.
But once DEF fluid and DEF systems were introduced into the market, it went from being able to run 100% bio to maybe 10%.
Really?
5%, sometimes 20, depending on the equipment. And so the big oil
yeah.
has eliminated biodiesel from being a viable competitor to the fuel that they make by requiring all the vehicle manufacturers to modify their systems so that you can't run high volumes of bio.
I didn't know that, but
man, I mean,
politics.
There's a lot going on, and so what we learned was our biodiesel plant, while we were the only one in South Carolina for years and years, we were always so small that we were never going to really make it only on biodiesel fuel production alone. But it was like, we're going to vertically integrate. I'm going to collect it from the waste generator. I'm going to refine the oil myself. I'm going to make the fuel myself. I'm going to deliver it and distribute it myself, vertically integrated. Oh, that's cut out all the middleman. And we were losing money like you would not believe, because when the vehicles got modified and you couldn't run 100% bio, you had to buy petroleum fuel. And you had to buy 95% petroleum diesel to blend 5% biodiesel into it. So I wasn't selling biodiesel anymore. I was selling 95% diesel fuel.
Gotcha.
And that went right in my
eye, yeah.
And so everything just changed in the feasibility of the business model that we had created. But we got hired by US Food to build a feedstock processing plant explicitly for their use. Had a 5-year contract. And so we shifted gears from just focus on refining oil and selling fuel to just high volume oil processing. And that's where a lot of this understanding, and this was like in 2010.
Yeah.
A lot of this understanding came about, you know, maybe our place in this industry isn't collect, refine, process, and sell fuel. Maybe it's just collect, refine, and sell the oil.
Right.
And let other people that are bigger
do the refinery,
handle the refining and the conversion into an actual diesel fuel.
So that's where these rail cars will go, somewhere to another refinery.
Yes.
Well, they'll further the process and turn it into an actual usable fuel.
When it leaves here, it's just refined oil or fat. It's not a fuel, but we are a biofuel, business.
Yeah.
we just don't do that final step.
I gotcha.
But every gallon that we output, it goes into someone's engine on the other end.
Gotcha. Man, that is so neat, dude. I'm super impressed with what you've done down here.
Yeah.
I mean, I really am.
We got so big that it was just like, man, we've got to process wastewater now. Just like we had to buy the compost company to consume all of our solid waste.
Right.
Then we designed a whole wastewater treatment system that we now refine our own wastewater and pre-treat it and are able to discharge it down the drain. So we're solving our own problems first, and when we get good at doing our own, then we go find other people and help them solve their problems too.
That's amazing.
It's like with these food companies, if they weren't using us, they would be paying for their liquid to be solidified somewhere and then thrown into a landfill.
Right. We hate that.
And that's
everybody knows that I'm a landfill owner, even though it's construction and demolition, but I hate landfilling. I hate it. And that's why I built all the companies that I have, to try to just recycle more and more. But man, the amount of waste in this country is, you know,
I just left
nuts.
2 different landfills yesterday, and what's most interesting I find at the landfill is how many trucks ride through the gate to be weighed with waste to throw away. But every truck has a green recycling logo on the truck, or has some slogan that would lead you to believe that they're environmentally doing the right thing, when all they do is go get the material, charge somebody a bunch of money, and then they throw it away and pay for disposal. And, I mean, when that's the only option, it is the best option, and this is where people like you and me have to step up and see these opportunities to grab material and make some money on the disposal and processing of it, but also save these big companies a lot of money. That's what I'm really most surprised with. There's one company we just recently contracted with to take all of their production waste after it gets made and goes into a bottle, and then it goes into a case, cardboard, and packaged and put on a pallet. Then they have to throw it away because of some quality control reason. That for 6 years I was going to this one company, I can take this waste, I'll buy it from you. Please let me get your waste. Don't continue to throw it away in the landfill. And we got zero attention until the provider that they had that was just hauling it for disposal quit. And so then we get in, and now in I think 3 months they've made $60,000 on their waste. And then I've made a profit on the back end handling their waste.
It's beautiful.
And in the biofuel industry, I mean, we've sent out hundreds of thousands of gallons of product now, and it's just a better way, and everybody's winning. We make a little bit, they make a little bit, biofuel gets made.
I think it's great.
And
sometimes it just takes that little catalyst, you know, just to change things up. Now they're probably pissed they didn't, you know, listen to you 6 years ago.
Well, now they want me to go to other plants in other states, but because we have rail, it's possible. Send your liquid to us here over the rail. We don't have to go to Arizona. There's a rail that runs there. What's interesting, and we even ran the numbers of going to California to get waste.
Really?
The expense to throw away material in California is so high at the landfills because there's so few landfills. And there's so much waste that it's actually as cheap for them to load it on a rail car, have it run a month in time all the way to get to this coast, for us to get it, grab it, process it, dispose of it, and still have money to share on both ends.
That's nuts, man.
It's bananas. And who would have thought that this is possible? We only found this out by going to trade shows and talking to people in other parts of the country that are just, man, I wish that y'all were doing this where we are. And it's just like, well, I mean, there's a rail that goes from here to there. I mean, there's a way. And we've yet to close any of those long rides,
but they're possible. They're possible. You know?
It is feasible. It's just,
wow, that's
man,
cool.
We're so inundated with phone calls and can you take my waste and what about this waste? And it's even just in this local South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee market. It is fascinating.
It is.
And
you know, and that's another thing too. Like our composting facility, you know, we're limited to what we can take. You know, how much feedstock we can have, how many windrows we can have going. We couldn't take it all from the phone calls that we get of folks just being like, hey, can you compost this? Because these big companies, fortunately, a lot of them are wanting to do the right thing.
They're starting to.
And they're starting to. And government
3 years ago with COVID hit, I think it disrupted so much of the supply chain that everything was like, you know what, let's reevaluate. And I kind of feel like I mean, COVID was terrible, but almost because of COVID, we've had these new opportunities.
It's just like I said, sometimes you just need that catalyst, whatever it may be. I mean, we all know COVID wasn't great, but it made people, you know, look at things a different way because of supply chain. And okay, well, now we can't move this here for this reason. So it makes people, it forces people to rethink their waste and what they're doing with it. So sometimes that's what it takes. But dude, I'm just blown away. I'm so glad I went back and got the camera out of the truck. I think people are going to find this incredibly interesting because, well, it is.
And look, for $15 million, you can put one of these plants together.
You too can have one of these in your own backyard.
But it's, I feel blessed. Like it feels like a calling.
Yeah.
I worked in the banking industry before starting this.
Yeah.
And man, there wasn't a day that I felt like I really helped anybody.
Right.
Oh, you need a loan? Let me look at your financials. We'll charge you this high interest rate because maybe you'll repay the loan. Like, I didn't feel like I was helping anybody.
Yeah.
But with this, I mean, I know we're helping millions and millions.
That's my biggest driving, you know, point with all the recycling. I tell people, you know, I would be a much smarter businessman if I would just put everything in that landfill, bury it, take my money, walk away.
Yeah.
But I've gone through, you know, the learning curves and buying equipment and investing because I know recycling, it is the right thing to do. It makes me feel good. We've created jobs, like you said. I mean, how many folks you got working down here? 40 folks.
Well, total at all of our.
That's awesome. You've created 40 jobs and you're doing something beneficial for the environment. My hat's off to you, dude. This is really, really cool.
We've been blessed.
Yeah.
And we do all of our own repairs. We've got shelves with pumps and equipment and valves and stuff and welders and repair guys and I mean,
you have to. I imagine with this much equipment, this many pumps. I mean, hell, if you were to have to go to the machine shop every single time, you'd go broke. Yeah.
And so in our facility, we have to put different waste in different places, but I mean, you've got eggs, you've got fries, you've got, you know, protein drinks, but when it's biofuel, when it's oil related, it comes in through filtration and it goes into this process and we heat and filter the material as it's coming in.
Okay.
And then we separate all the waste from the material after it gets in the doors. And then we go through centrifuges. That blue thing on the platform is a centrifuge, and so
sling out all the solids.
It separates oil and water as it flows through the machine.
Okay.
Any trace solids can come out as well, but we've got another centrifuge that actually separates the solids out of the liquid suspension as well. So when we get the waste in, we're at every time we pump it somewhere, we're getting either water out or solids out or some form of waste out of the oil to refine it. But then the centrifuge, I mean, when you get waste out, that waste has to go somewhere. Compost.
Right.
When you centrifuge and get the solids out, that waste has to go somewhere. Compost. And so it's really sexy, kind of the balance of compost to biofuel.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't make any money. Right. Like, I thought that, that's not waste, that's money. That's going to turn into compost that we can sell, but then you got to sell the compost for $20 or $25 a ton to the big bulk guys to keep it moving.
Right.
And at that price point, it's so low that it's just
doesn't make sense.
You can't win in biodiesel or biofuel as well as in composting, and I'm trying to figure out how to win at both.
Right.
It's a balancing act.
Right. Yeah. I understand. Yeah, we've been learning, you know, over the past couple of years about composting. This has been our best year ever, you know, as far as sales, but we still got a lot to learn, a lot of improvements that I want to make, and then you got marketing, and it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, it never stops.
It's a whole nother monster.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't know about y'all, but I found that extremely interesting, and so we're going to look at possibly composting some of the food waste that these guys have a little extra of, and amping up our compost back at Gringo. But that is really, really cool. It's right here in my hometown. I didn't even know it existed. Well, I knew it existed, but didn't know what all was involved with it. Pretty complex operation. Super, super, super cool. So hope you guys found that interesting. Drop us a comment down there below. Hope y'all are doing okay, and we'll see you on the next video.